Alright, Chapter 5, State Real Estate License Laws. Essential matters to learn with the chapter. State has its own license that laws regulate with the real estate brokers and salesperson. The material should be readily available online on the State Real Estate Commission website. Please download a copy. Each state has a real estate commission or other agency regulates license, qualification, practice. The State Real Estate Commission has a board of commissioners that supplies the staff employees headed by the full-time executive called the commissioner. Please determine your state how many boards of members there are, and what occupation board members must draw from, who appoints commissioners. Often the state governor confirms them. The typical with the state senate. 4. How often the commission meets. Each real estate commission, each state regulates what constitutes real estate, requires license to sell or lease others, what types of license to issue. The typical broker, salesperson, appraiser considered chapter 14, 15 of its book. Qualification to become a broker and salesperson, age, education, testing experience, any digital relationship permitted to buy or sell or dual transaction, non-agency amounts of fees applying for maintaining each license service. 6 schools offer the real estate education, discipline, accepting investigation, compliance, holding, hearing, punishment, penalties. 8 non-resident brokers, reciprocity, examination, real estate recovery fund, disbursement. Each state will have lost list of do's and don'ts. Items covered included mishandle money belonging to others in paramount with deposit money belonging to others promptly, the escrow of the accounts, commonly other funds with the broker's own money is prohibited. To practice with illegal to include the misrepresentation and fraud. This includes false, misleading advertising, dishonest, misleading someone. 3 business practices include requirement to submit all offers except the agency in that listing. Violating civil rights, blockbusting, steering, discriminating in house real estate, impartial, avoiding all required information such as leaving a copy of signed documents, improper payment to commission such as toll, unlicensed individuals, disclosure agency relationship to the principal, being convinced of certain crimes or being negligent in person development, performing duties. Please obtain a copy of the real estate license law in your state. Highlight the provisions of these related to the license. Every state requires the real estate broker, the salesman, to be licensed with the state before they can do business. Therefore, each state has set laws referred to the real estate license law. Would it describe the process of being licensed, responsibility of the licensed administrator, license law, the means of removing the license from those that are unfit to keep them, miscellaneous items, and the details of those laws. These laws vary from state to state, but many of the general provisions are the same. Understanding your state laws. Every state has at least 2 kinds of license for the real estate transaction professional, with a broker license, with a salesperson license, but note with a very few states the title of the license may be somewhat different. The main difference between the two is that the licensed broker may own, operate with, manage real estate broker's business. As licensed salesperson cannot do any of these things. The means of every state that requires a licensed salesperson to work for under the supervision of a licensed broker. Usually this is referred to as a broker's holding salesperson license. The license is not actually issued to the salesperson, rather issued to the salesperson's broker. The supervision and responsibility of the broker is a serious matter because the broker is liable for anything and everything the salesperson does in the course of the broker's business. In fact, the agency with the contract negotiated should salesperson actually are the contract between the seller of the buyer and the broker, not between the salesperson and the principal. Some of the states distinguish between the 2 types of the brokers, principal broker and the associate broker. The principal broker, the managed broker, who take the ultimate responsibility action for the agency of the firm. Right off, the associate broker may be the assistant manager, merely someone with a broker's license who has chosen to act as a salesperson and have another broker hold his or her license. In many states, the staff of the broker branch office must include an associate broker. Some states have a different examination education requirements. The principle of the associate brokers. To stay with the material of the chapter effectively, these copies of the state laws. Every state license agency will make available the state license law with the applicant for the license. Be sure to study the law carefully. Every state devotes a considerable portion of 20 to 40% license exam testing the application knowledge for the license law. If you have not studied your state law, you will reduce your ability to pass the examination. The chapter will serve as a guide to your state law, licensing law. It would be confusing to try to cover the details in every state variation of the chapter. A better way to provide the study guide with you supplement with a copy of the state law of the second section sample questions at the end of the chapter, page 121, 132, is designed to show the kind of the questions you will encounter, as well as you give the opportunity to demonstrate the knowledge of your own state laws. Licensing laws subdivided in several general areas, such as those of us of the course. The state may not cover the A's areas in the same order we do. With nearly everything in your state law will be reviewed. Do not consider that you have the experience skipped around your state law to file with a pattern In this book, the test graders do not care whether you know the sequence in which something appears. If they want you to make sure that you know the content of the law of the file, with the study with the pattern, you will know it. Each section, and plenty of the blank space to provide with a note with a particular feature of the state law, sometimes accomplished for the actual taping and passing of the relevant part of the state laws available to space. Other times, it will be easier just to make handwritten notes. Feel free to cross out items that do not apply to your state. In the event that study patterns below broke down the license into logical segments from the effective study before beginning with the study pattern. Please carefully read your state laws. The overview of the familiar of the basic provisions will easier to make them look up to some and discuss the study pattern as you read for the first time. Look for the notes referring to specific legal cases which certain provisions are upheld and interpreted. Check the explanatory notes which provide examples of illustrated important points. Be on watch for portions of the law that have been repealed or amended with some of the states prior to the honest law with the currently stand with the others include with the enacted laws relevant to licensing since of the original one, even though one may have been replaced, amended later. In such cases, usually there will be a notation to point out when the repeal amendment took place. For such study purposes, cross out any repealed or otherwise invalid parts of the permanent license you have. Look, all the provisions have been enacted, but are not effective. Often the state law will allow with a considerable time after the pass until it takes effect with a particular evident with the case of the law, the raised tightened standards, especially educational for the licensure. Look as the laws contain schedule of the provision with the taken effect with the future. Many states have adopted a schedule of the additional educational standards for the licensure will be raised every so often until the particular goal is reached. Be sure to note the way with various provisions are numbered, otherwise identified. It will make it easy the under parts of the law with the reference that they made to another part of the law. Study pattern for the license law. The definition of real estate. The definition of real estate usually includes most of the interests and with the land and buildings other than permitted. Some of the states will also require license for handling investments, interests involved with the real estate, such as syndicates, sales, business, and so on. Brokerage. Note with the function they have to define with a real estate broker usually will be many if your state has associate brokers, however they function defined. Some salesperson sometimes have a different name in this, such as a sales associate for the job. Use the most functions as you say for the broker provision of the salesperson is employed by the broker employed by another broker. Most states provide the situation specifically name and they give it an associate, affiliate broker, employee broker varies. The principal broker, associate broker, if the distinguishing between principal and associate broker to describe the difference between them. Corporate broker, sometimes provided by the corporation, may have the license to satisfy certain requirements. Branch office, under the conditions does the state have of the broker firm have of the branch office. Agency relationship, which of the following agency relationships allow in your state? Buyer agency, list restriction, dual agency, list restriction, no agency broker, and transaction broker, standard agency broker, and list other restrictions than any. If there's a default relationship if you're in state, if described, examination of the license of the law list of all those who are exempt of the state license exemptions usually included the owner's property of the state or lease holding the owner's power, attorneys acting on the exercise of the duty of the trustee of the certificate employees, owners of government, or some other. For administrator of the law, most states of the real estate commission have the administrator of the license law. However, some of the states do not. In these states, the administrator of the state of the agency, of the department of state of the state licensing board of the department. In case you will be asked how this administration is set up with the organizational pattern. If your state, if the real estate commission, not the following information: how many of the commissions are there? What are the required qualification, residence, and state experience, licensed broker, etc. What is their compensation? How are they chosen and confirmed by who? Is there required geographical distribution among them? How is the chairman chosen and by whom? How are the vacancies filled? How long do the commission serve? Is the date and the time and limiting the name of the new commissioner? How frequently does the commission meet? Where does it meet? And how many commissioners constitute a quorum? If you state that it does not have a real estate commission, look for the answers. Well, the state administrator of the real estate license law, where is located with any of the representation permitted with a member of the real estate industry. How is such representation effective at what points in the qualification regardless of whether or not the state has a commission? The following questions there will be pertinent with the general power of the agency of the commission with the enforcement of the law. How is the staff of the agency of the commission organized? Does it have the titles secretary, executive secretary, commissioner, etc.? The limit of the size of the staff, who hires them, and the demonstrate with the part to pay. Does the commission agency have the seal whether offices are located within 5? The license process, you must know all the steps to get in any license broker, associate broker, if applicable, or salesperson also must know the necessary qualification to meet with any of the seeking license section 6 devoted catalog for fees of licensing pay. Most application for either license will be sponsored anyone either by the person already licensed or the salesperson applicant and future broker. What is the minimum age? Salesperson, broker, associate broker. How the general education must apply to high school or equivalent salesperson, broker, associate. What is the special education requirements must licenses meet? Distinguish between education required before getting for getting a license, continuing education required after obtaining a license in order to retain the license. Also, are there any substitutions such experience permitted to any of the requirements salesperson, broker, or associate broker? Will the change of the education requirements of the present law dictate whether they go into effect in the future? What are they, and when do they become effective? Are there been any specific experience requirements for either license? Often, a broker applicant is required to have been licensed as a salesperson for a certain minimum time. Are licenses required to be bound and contribute to the real estate recovery fund or similar fund? Does the state have the other special requirements on the grounds can your state refuse to issue a real estate license on an applicant? Fees. Fill the blank place following the form to show the fee for the other pertinent information concerning the state required for the information shown broke down by a broker salesperson. This is the areas commonly crossed out with the fees that you still do not charge. Application examining license amount of fee, how often is payable when it's due. Broker, salesperson, associate broker, renewal fee, amount of fee different from the license penalty. Late renewal fee, what is late license renewal fee, transfer new employing broker, change business brand address, change different brand, same firm, any penalty, frequent transfers. Duplicate replacement license fee, real estate recovery fund payment with becoming licensed later, periodic payments. When are payments due? Other fees, reactivating inactive license, licensing fee while active in C and D. 7. How to lose a real estate license. License of the law of your state will spell with the number of the practice with the regulatory authorities are allowed to revoke or suspend a license. The practice will be found with the license of the law itself, the code of ethics set up with the rules and regulations in both places. We have grouped and listed most of the common practices have provided the space with me to know the special provisions special provisions of your own law. Cross out the ones with your state law does not mention, but make sure that the law does not specifically own the item somewhat different with the wording. When in doubt, leave in all the practices listed below are poor business practices, very least. Even if you are sure that the state law prohibits one of them, you ought to avoid it anyway, the space of which free right. And in the comments, if any of the practices are grounded according to the type, mishandling money belonging to others, commingling trust and money with the owns funds, no remitting funds quickly once they are received, still person not remitting funds quickly to the broker, accepting non-cash payments on the behalf of the principal without the principal's agreement, check with considered to be cash. Misrepresentation and fraud. Although these practice misrepresentation and fraud, some states listed with a number of the practice, others simply state with it for misrepresentation and fraud. Some of the words are fake, false advertising, intentional misleading someone, acting more than one party with a transaction without knowledge of all the parties, using a trademark identifying insignia of the firm or organization such as National Association of Realtors, of one of which is not a member, salesperson pretending to be a broker to be employed by the broker, none of its own, identifying oneself with a license, any of the transaction which one is a party, taking kickbacks, referral commission, placement, and so on, associates one duties from the person who are not in principal without principal knowledge, guarantee future profits, offering property terms other than those authorized by the principal, pretending to represent with the principal for one who is not actually employed, failing to identify the broker and all advertising others, improper business practice, failure to submit all offers to the principal, attempting to thwart another broker's exclusive listing, include someone to break a contract, accepting a net listing, failing to put an expiration date on the listing, putting one sign on the property without owner's permission, failing to post a required bond, failing to keep the bond up to date, blockbusting, discriminating, steering, other violations, state, federal, local, fair housing, civil rights, failure to impart required information, failure to leave copy of the contracts with all parts involved, failure to deliver a closing statement to all parties entitled to one, failure to inform some of all the parties of closing costs, improper handling payment of the commission, paying a commission to the unlicensed person, paying commission to a licensed not in one's employee, seller's person will receive the commission from anyone other than the employing broker. Unlicensed person receiving a sharing commission. Agency disclosure. Failing to disclose prospective buyers to the broker is an agent of the seller. Failure to disclosure buyer broker agency to the seller. Seller's broker include when to do so. Failure to disclose facultative transaction broker requirements with the limitation required form to use for agency disclosure. Other being convicted of certain crimes specified violations are part of the license law, making false statements of the license application, showing evidence of the incompetence, unworthiness, poor characteristics, and so on. The catch-all provisions usually found at the end of the license list of specific offenses to drive home to point an improper action can cost less until the license has license How does your state phrase the provision? Other provisions not covered by specify. 8. Revocation procedures. Every state has a legal process whereby the license is revoked or suspended. The state will spell out that very clearly, looking at the following: what make a complaint against the licensor, what form of the complaint tank, what to whom will it be submitted, discretion does the authority have with regard to acting of the complaints, however the license notified of the complaints are against them. Is there a time limit with regarding the time between the act of the complaint, with the receipt of the complaint and the notification of the license? What rights does the licensor have? How much time may elapse before hearing or decision? May any or some of the parties hearing appeal the court? If so, would the court how soon must the appeal be filed? Is the license retaining her license if the appeal is filed? When the penalties or license authority may impose directly? What happens to the licensed salesperson, associate broker, whose principal broker loses his license? 9. Handling trust money. The brokers usually keep the principal money within the trust for the form of rents from the earning money, deposits, and so on that usually contain the provisions regulating such money. With the handling, the rule is to put the special account called the trust action escrow account. Things to look for is how many different kinds of accounts must be maintained. Can there be interest bearing? Who gets the interest, and must they deposit with a particular bank and the particular agents? 10. Non-residential licenses. Every state has some regulation regarding out-of-state residences able to pursue the real estate business within the state, but there are 3 ways to handle the situation. Find out what that your state uses to make an appropriate notice in the space provided below. A state may choose the issue of the non-resident license by requiring non-residents to take the state license exam, what are the fees that such applicants must pay? Do they have to meet all of those state other qualifications? Must they maintain a license in their home state? Prohibited out-of-state residents if they operating within the state. The few states that have the provisional use all of the out-of-state licenses to operate within the state, provided all the businesses funnel through the resident license. All the state licenses to operate the basis of the reciprocity, that is, the state will recognize non-resident qualifications having been determined at home state that will issue the applicant in the state with a non-resident license based on the licensure reciprocating state. 11. Real estate recovery fund. Not all states have real estate recovery funds. Some are funded with different names. If yours does not, then cross out this section. Real estate recovery fund is a fund set up with the administrative agency state with the purpose of providing redress for the damages caused to members of the public in proper action of the real estate license. Usually, the money comes from the assessment made upon the license. The time fund is set up continually periodic until the fund reaches a certain level. After that time, the fund is depleted below the specified point. The assessments begin again and continue until the fund is back to the desired level. Looking at the following with regard to real estate recovery fund. How does one establish a claim? What is the process must gone through before the claim can be paid? What happens to the license if the claim is paid because of the improper action of the part? Any other exemption kinds of a claim may be paid. Are there any time limits which claims must be made? Are the limits over the dollar amount any single award? 12. Regulation of the real estate schools. More and more requiring some kind of real estate training applicants with a license to assure the training of the proper effective. Some of the states amended their license laws, give the state real estate license agency the power to regulate real estate schools. So they teach courses made educational requirements looking for the following. Does the law specify a particular curriculum? Any other all courses must follow. Does the law permit the licensing agency specify the curriculum? Does the law require the teachers to have particular qualifications? Is the license agency given the power to determine the qualifications of the teacher? 13. Penalty violating a license law. Violation of licensing is a crime, misdemeanor, felony of the crime. What is the maximum penalty? Imprisonment, fine, or both? Is there provisions that repeat offenders? What happens to the license of the licensor who is convicted of violating law? Does the conviction of the violating law affect the person's future right to the real estate license? And 14. Other provisions. Page may note the important provisions if your state license that has not covered so far. And then it goes into questions of chapter 5. Alright, part 3, real estate contracts.